Hello. If you are currently or you are wondering about becoming a HeroQuest Homebrew unofficial asset creator and creating your own works to distribute on a platform like Patreon or the Game Crafter or Drive-Thru RPG, then this video is for you. I'm Ash, this is HeroQuest, and welcome home. Today, we're going to talk about sourcing one of the most difficult margins of your homebrew project, and that is the art. There are two inspirations for this video. One, the general feedback received and the kind of conversations that were generated over Lizurin's most recent advanced gaming system product. And two, the results and conversation thereof of a poll that I recently held on the channel, which, by the way, 333 of you voted on. That was a really surprising number. Thank you very much. Now, before you run away screaming, this is not going to be a video where I just talk about AI, it good, it bad, whatever. We're going to address different points, but I really got the sense that a lot of my viewers, or a lot of the creators out there, and or a lot of my viewers who just comment on the videos, at least in general, the majority of them, might benefit from a greater understanding of what kind of options there are when it comes to sourcing art for your homebrew product. And we can take this logic and apply it to pretty much anything you want to create. If you want to make something of your own and put it on a platform for commercial or personal use. And while we are talking about 2D art, such as the kind that you would see on cards or on the covers of boxes or on character sheets and the like, this sort of logic, the advice in this video and the points that I'm going to make can be applied to absolutely anything, any kind of resource or asset, be it music, sound effects for Foley, voice acting, so recorded dialogue, or even 3D models, homebrew sculpts, cardboard chits and tokens. That's chits, C-H-I-T-S. It's a term. Look it up. Now, some of you have been around a while and you remember that I have another channel, Amalgamash. That's my gaming channel, my video game, let's play, and game development channel. And I talk a lot about the development of independent video games from grassroots creators who might have no idea that they can literally go download a free program and start making their own video game. And in many cases, they can distribute this video game on itch.io or GameJolt or Steam and actually charge money for it and make a little bit of money for their efforts. The game dev scene has been around and it's been evolving a long time, but board games and board game materials are becoming more and more accessible. All of this stuff is becoming more accessible than ever, and that includes the acquisition of various resources that people need to be able to make the board game or video game experience theirs. And this is kind of why I wanted to talk about it, because I have had a lot of exposure with unlicensed and or pirated assets, and the defense of using those assets, as far as the video game creator is concerned, is I couldn't afford my own. While there's a big sort of emotive conversation going around about AI, I think that we actually have a bigger problem about creators not being educated enough to know what to look for when they are creating something to distribute. And that brings me to my first point, the explanation of different licenses, license types. If you are thinking at all about making your own product, I highly encourage you to research CC0 or the Creative Commons license system in general. Classically, once you put pen to paper and write or draw something, you own that thing. You own the copyright to it. Somebody can't copy it directly without subjecting themselves to certain consequences. Now, the greater conversation about copyright in general and that definition may be a bit outside the scope of this video, but it is important to understand a little bit about copyright and what licenses are and what they do for you as a creator. And I'm starting out here at the very beginning, CC0, because the main argument for why it's okay for smaller creators to use generative AI tools seems to stem from an understanding that they may not have the financial resources to pay for art, when that is absolutely not a necessity to begin with. There are literally thousands of artists who have created hundreds of thousands of assets for free, and the intention is that those assets remain free and are available for creators to use so that they don't have to spend big bucks to get their creation out there. We're going to look at a couple of platforms where you can actually search for your own CC0, as well as slightly more restrictive CC types that still offer you free solutions for your art problem. And again, this can absolutely apply to music, to video, to models. Absolutely any asset you could want or dream of is out there and likely is very accessible, more than you can imagine. So CC0 is a Creative Commons license. It's a tool for relinquishing copyright and releasing material into the public domain. Public domain is another license type. It is kind of like the absence of license, but if applying it to a work, it means that this work cannot be copyrighted. Nobody can copyright it. And just to touch on a really quick story, going down memory lane, when I was on DeviantArt, I created a few wallpapers. One of the wallpapers that I made was an image of John Tenniel's Alice from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, holding the flamingo, getting ready to pop her croquet ball. It wasn't croquet, croquette, whatever. She was getting ready to play ground tennis, pool golf. I'm making my UK fans just absolutely cringe right now. I promise the information here will be worth it though. You'll forgive me, I hope. And my art was taken down because of copyright violations. The person who took it down was a mod, and they had said, well, this is Disney's, so you can't post it. That's when DeviantArt cared about taking down anything that was a violation of copyright. I answered that it wasn't actually Disney's. It wasn't a Disney image. It was John Tenniel's art. He drew it around 1900, so it's no longer got a copyright applied to it because it's in the public domain, and at the time, everything that was created before 1923 was in the public domain. That only goes up, it only advances every single year, and more things fall into the public domain that are older like that. As soon as I brought that to their attention, I got my art back, and they're like, you were right, I was wrong, but watch out. So the short story there is that all of the art that John Tenniel has ever done is in the public domain, and you would be able to find copies of that art online and use it in your project without restriction, without giving credit, without paying a royalty, without any sort of fear of any legal repercussions whatsoever, because it's in the public domain globally. And creators today are creating works of art and applying the CC0 license to it to put out there, as mentioned. You can do a Google search for CC0 monster icons and you'll get all kinds of results, although you'll have to be careful if you're doing this to avoid having to use AI-generated art. There are actually some folks who made AI-generated art and they're putting their stuff out there and applying the CC0 license to it as if they had a choice. We'll talk more about that. One of my favorite platforms to find resources on is itch.io, and while this has a few AI-generated things, it's also got stuff like these CC0 hand-drawn fantasy icons from Comigo. These are black and white PNG and scalable SVG icons. That's a vector format, which means no matter how far you zoom in, you'll never see the pixels because it's a set of instructions telling the computer how to draw the image rather than a bitmap of the image itself. It's the same kind of icons that are used in PDFs and for tools like HeroQuest Builder. And these are free. You can just go and download these right now and put them on your cards. You can use the icons any way you'd like. You can even change the icons because they're CC0. You don't have to worry about making a derivative version of the art and then being fined or sued or anything like that. CC0 work can be changed to suit your needs. A lot of people in my comments have argued that using AI art is okay for small creators. And a valid counter argument to that would be that it's just okay to steal somebody else's art outright if you're a small creator. Let me offer you an alternative. GameIcons.net gives 4,000 free icons away, and you can use these any way you like. It doesn't even have to be a deck of cards. You can use this in your commercial board game package. As a matter of fact, the earliest editions of League of Dungeoneers were distributed with free art that was obtainable online. Now, this does mean that you won't get the custom experience. You won't be able to get the same amount of custom detail as you would in a commissioned piece. And some would argue that you can use an AI art generating program like Luma to get that sort of custom feel, although I would argue it's a little bit of a shot in the dark if you do that. But the way that you utilize the iconography here and the other free art that I'm about to show you and what I have shown you is yours. That does make the experience uniquely yours and present it in a way that only you can present. As for usage of these, HeroQuest, which is my second favorite homebrewer for HeroQuest products, right after Heroic Adventurers, and I mean the two are pretty close. HeroQuest uses these exact icons for the various HeroQuest decks, and that is one of the more well-known HeroQuest homebrew products at this point. That is one of the ones that keeps going. It has more series, it's more successful. It seems like the creator really wants to continue making the product because possibly they've been incentivized to do so. Perhaps they're even making a little bit of money off of it. And it appeals to all of those customers who don't want to buy a product that has AI-generated art because it doesn't have it. And again, you can take these and put these through a paint program. You can change them up. Now, I want to be absolutely clear. The icons here are under a different license. They're CC BY 3.0, which is very, very similar to CC0. They explicitly tell you that you're free to share and adapt these, and you must provide attribution to the various authors of the different works that are in here. And there's a lot. There's about 100 different authors. That doesn't mean that you'd have to give attribution to all 100, just the ones whose icons you are using. If you happen to use all 4,000 icons, you've got a very ambitious product, and crediting 100 people is probably the least of your worries. One of the most well-known video game asset creators in comparison is Kenny. By and far the most well-known as far as free assets go. Kenny does nothing but sit and create free asset after free asset after free asset, and they are quite against the AI movement. So kind of in an effort to fight against that, they just make their stuff free. Not everybody has the means to do this. This is a service that somebody is very kindly providing, and it's highly appreciated. There's a lot of games that you've probably played that, you know, not AAA games, but independent games for sure. And there's a lot of stuff that you could use here, even if you're not making a video game. Again, this is stuff that is distributed under a license that is very flexible. You can use this stuff for your project in general. Kenny uses fantasy UI borders. Kenny makes fantasy UI borders, for example. If you were making a video game, you could use these. You don't have to ask for permission. You just go and you download them. You don't have to provide attribution. These are CC0. If you're making a card game or HeroQuest Homebrew, you can use this stuff. Again, you don't have to ask Kenny for permission. The license is right there. You don't have to provide attribution, although it's greatly appreciated if you do. And you don't have to pay royalties. Another great website to browse if you're looking for accessible game assets, graphical or otherwise, is opengameart.org. Now this one can require a little bit of digging simply because there is so much from so many people posted on this website, but you can actually narrow it down by the types of licenses, and you can look for stuff that is explicitly released under CC BY 3.0 or other license types like GPL or OGA. And you can use search terms, and you can filter if you're looking for 3D art, texture, documents, concept art, 2D art, sound effects. Even DriveThruRPG has examples of free and accessible art. This is the free Monster Fantasy stock art, Creative Commons Volume 1 for Dungeons & Dragons and more from Actuarial Games. Hundreds of cool images in a variety of styles. All of the art is of monsters. And there are 8 different artists' work featured in this pack. This is just one example. It's a pay what you want. You're able to pay 99 cents, $1, whatever. Rutger Dax is one of the authors, and just doing a little bit more research on Rutger Dax leads us to DeviantArt, where we can see even more fantasy art. This stuff might actually be in that fantasy art pack. And a lot of it is distributed under the CC3 BY license, which means you can use it in your projects as long as you provide attribution and just credit the author. You don't break the law and they can't sue you. So many of the comments in the last few things that I've put out have talked about being against AI as virtue signaling when it's not. I promise, I'm not virtue signaling. I have a vested interest in putting up my fists and fighting wherever I can to make sure people are educated on what their options are so that they're discouraged from using AI. Or how not everybody has Hasbro money when artists don't charge Hasbro money. Yes, you have professional artists out there like the guy who did charge Hasbro money to throw together an AI-generated box art cover, which looked like garbage and was quickly rescinded once the fans spoke up about it. But for every material creator out there who wants to make a game or a homebrew asset and they don't really want to get rich off of it, they just want to put it out there, and if they make a few dollars, fine, but they really just want to see people enjoying it, rest assured, there are a multiplicative amount more artists out there who have the same mindset. Yes, you do have artists that have come a long way, and supply and demand have pretty much dictated that they're able to charge what they want because they put out awesome work. And you'll kind of find those artists mingled with the artists that will literally charge you $5 to sketch you up something that looks really cool and give you the license to distribute it in a format of your choice. But wouldn't it be fantastic if you could build a relationship with somebody who would like to see their stuff in someone's product? It's their dream to see their art just distributed on a physical card because they had no idea that this board game creator universe existed. And so perhaps they compromise or they show you some of their free art and let you use it. Then you as a creator put the product out there. Maybe you make a little bit of money off of it. Maybe you make an unexpected amount. And now you turn around and you say, I want to use the same artist because I love their style, or the fans loved their style, and my next product will build on the first one and it'll be consistent and coherent, and I can actually pay them now. Well, that just is a win situation for everybody involved. Guys, art is one of the two biggest things you have to worry about when you are creating your own asset. It is one of the two largest cost margins, the other one being the actual production of the thing that you want to make. And it's necessary, absolutely vital. You've got your tactile element, which is being covered by the actual creation process, whether it's a card or a token or a tile, and then you've got the visual element, and you absolutely want your visual elements to pop, at least most of you do. There are so many customers out there who just don't want anything to do with AI generated stuff, and here's where I kind of include my spiel. I definitely don't want people to be incentivized to just send me stuff that's completely composed of AI nonsense. When I do videos that feature AI art in the product, I really try to draw the attention to the idea of the product because I want other people to get their gears turning as far as inspiration. I want people to think about how this homebrew element, this mechanic, will work in their game. And if they buy the product, then that's all good and fine, but then I want the feedback in the video comments explaining what they would like to see about the product, whether they chose to buy it or not. I want to see that feedback being given to the author. And if people say, I don't want to buy this because it's got AI art and I believe that takes away from other creators, then I think that's totally valid because I'm on the side of the fence that it does, and I don't think that this is refutable. I think it's easy to comment that it doesn't, but I think that's objectively wrong. If you as an asset creator put your work out there and people use digital platforms to sample all of the ways that your work actually is put into practice, and they reword all of your rules but make them essentially identical, which they can do since rule sets can't be copyrighted, and they use their own art to kind of provide a sort of context to their deck that's a little bit different looking than yours, and then they re-release it and they can do this at the drop of a hat because they were using a game generative tool, well, some of you might be perfectly fine with that, but others might be a little bit miffed that their work wasn't even being given a second thought. It was simply being passed over because it costs money. And I guess somewhat aggressively, this is the viewpoint that I'm trying to say should apply to both sides of the fence, whether you're a game asset creator or a game creator or an artist. Look, I'm not really here to argue any points. I really just want to help people find more accessibility. And I hope that some of these artists who are working hard to create some of this stuff for free or for really low prices, like this $4.20 set of armor icons or weapon icons, and believe me, this is the same creator, they're going to discount their stuff by putting it in bundles. They do this all the time. Maybe it gets their work out there and maybe they benefit from it as well. But objectively, AI art generative programs work by sampling the works of others, and in 99.9% of cases, I mean in just about every single case, that artist did not consent to have their work digitally sampled. I know, the first argument to this is going to be, but the human brain works the same way. The human brain absolutely does not work the same way. The human brain is inspired, and the inspiration that you take from your individual collective experiences is going to be applied in a way that only you can apply it. The outright copying and predicting of where a certain pixel is going to be and what color it will be is based on an algorithm that human inspiration absolutely crushes and puts to shame. This doesn't even really touch on how uncanny it is to see some AI imagery and videos, and really this is more of a point of subjectivity. Either you prefer it or you don't, or you're indifferent. I don't think anybody actually prefers it unless you're an AI bro and you're just mind blown at this being the future because you don't actually know what we have in the present. So you're excited about something that we have so much better of already. This isn't even touching on the amount of energy and power that this takes to actually generate. It is an insane amount of wattage for something that's just going to be thrown away and forgotten, moved on to the next iteration. This isn't even talking about the uncopyrightability of works generated with AI. We've already got several legal precedents now established in the United States and in the UK that say, no, works that you made with this machine cannot be copyrighted, meaning if you make it with AI, I can take it and use it in my product. I don't have to credit you, I don't have to ask you, and I might make more money than you. This isn't even touching on the point that AI generative images are so frequent and numerous out there now that AI programs are now inadvertently being trained on their own work, which makes the results even sloppier. We're already hitting that point, and that's an amazing speed to be hitting something with as large and as deep as the internet is. But there you have it. My God, look at the two-ended polar bear. Please, please, can we not do that? So instead of talking about getting a life or virtue signaling or not holding small creators to such high standards, I'd like to understand, did you learn anything from this? Do you see where your options actually are? Do you see as a creator what diverse multitude of things you can actually get for free? That's if you have no money to put out there. If you have even $5, $10, $20, then the options that I'm talking about here grow in an exponential fashion. There are TTRPG icons all over itch.io, as well as different tiles that you can use in your game, whether it doesn't even matter, in your product in general, whether it's personal or commercial distribution. And I'm not saying everything here has the same license applied to it. Definitely go and do your own research on each individual asset that you look at. But see, I can't even find ones that are expensive. None of these are expensive. This is $1. This is free. This is free. And these look really cool. Literally, these are free. And they look really cool. I was about to make a point on how if you just spent a few bucks more, you could get some even cooler stuff, but these are free. These are free. It just goes on. Here we go. The most expensive thing I've looked at yet, $15. These are ping files, 300 DPI. There are 33 monsters here. But like I said, do your own research. And finally, I guess I just wanted to make the point that the customer is always right in matters of taste. That's the full quote. And it means if the customer wants it, you as the provider, you got no business arguing with them. You can either provide what they need or want, or you go home. That's right, you walk out of your own store. Go home. Please comment down below if I have said anything you disagree with or agree with or anything. Don't get into arguments, please. Plenty of valid reasons not to go the AI route. I will continue to do video reviews of stuff that does use AI art, and I will always point it out, and I will always give the disclaimer, because I'm not about promoting the AI art. I'm about promoting the product outside of that, and the creator can do better. So it is a choice. It is a choice to remain uneducated or to simply be lazy about it. But now you know. If you watch this video, now you know. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for keeping the conversation civil. I know it gets a little bit emotive at times, but all in all, I think it is a very productive conversation to have, and I really hope that this did educate somebody, even one person, on the different advantages and disadvantages of using these different art resources. And really, I hope that somebody out there will make a connection to one of these art pieces or artists and make something with the art that I've shown in the video or from one of the people that I've showcased in the video. It would be really, really awesome. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, regardless of which side of the fence you're on, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, onward